what you'll find is people who are not used to being on camera might find being sat down quite an intimidating experience. And equal to that is you might be really short of time. So I've got a solution for you, and that is to stand your subject up. Now all I've done here is I've swung the camera around from the position over there, raised it up on the legs a little bit, and I've had Sam just lean against the banister of the stairwell there. And just in this first position, I'm looking at a frame and thinking this could work. So here's the kind of process if you really have to work very, very quickly. Spend a little bit of time finding your frame. Now the huge advantage of being on location is that you have shape and form to work with. In this scene, let's just survey it. We've got the blue of the light coming in the back of the door, which is slightly diffused. We've got tungsten light coming off this big giant snowflake. And I think what I really like is the vertical symmetry of the frame. It sort of draws your eye into Sam's face. Now you could be tempted to just think, well, I'll open up my iris, which is wide open here, and that would look great. But first thing is, if we actually rack our exposure down to bring the exterior back into an acceptable level of exposure, so we have the detail in that window there, we notice that the light level drops down quite significantly. So open that up again just so we can see. What I'd like to do here though is I feel like I'm a little bit close on a wide lens. It's a 21mm lens, and Sam's head's looking a little bit big in the frame. So what I want to do is bring the camera back and shoot on a tighter lens, more of a portrait lens, and compress the scene, which will help flatter Sam's skin tones as well, and it gives me a bit more space to light in, because at the minute everything's kind of quite bunched up, there's nowhere to put anything. So what I always like to do on a location is get the camera as far back as I can, put a longer lens on, then I've got space to bring in my lighting and dress the frame. So first things first, let's move the camera back. Even at that shot there, works really well. In fact, in some respects, I like it more. And this is the thing about working on location. You can end up with happy accidents. In fact, I really like that frame. I think it balances well. I love the way this line cuts through the frame. We've got the daylight in the back of frame. And if I turn off that large light, because I want to start from scratch and control the lighting, I've actually got, yeah, I like that a lot. What we're seeing is a bit of spill because we've got a light on that was lighting me. Let me turn that off and start with an empty frame. So now we're back at that situation where you can actually build the lighting up light by light. I'm going to move that light out of the background because I'm not going to use that in this frame for the time being, and bring in the soft key and start with this. So I want to just start getting a sense of what kind of effects I can garner from this light, and start with this nice soft key on Sam's face. That's quite flattering actually. Now the only thing is, by lighting from this side, I'm also lighting all of this, and that's losing me some of the definition in the frame. So if I move the key light simply over here, and one thing to bear in mind is when you're moving lights around is just be mindful of your power cords, because it might be that you end up wanting to plug in somewhere else, because otherwise you have got a danger of tripping up, and you don't want to be doing that on location really. Now, by bringing the key light around this axis here, what I'm doing is a bit of trial and error. I want to get the light so it's lighting Sam's face and giving that life in the eyes, but at the same time I don't want to be creating too much light that it's lighting everything else up. And I think what I need to do here is actually flag off some of this light so that I'm just getting her face. And I think what I'll do while I'm here I'm building this picture up now, is take that backlight I had previously. I always like to light with about 2 lights if I can, because it just helps me pick out a bit of definition. So, bring this as far around here as I can. By spreading myself out, I can actually get this light nice and far back. What you'll notice there, Fred, is you can see that way that light's sort of hitting the side of the stairs there. By using this dado and using the barn door, I can take the light off that and just have it so it's just literally hitting Sam's side of her body right up here, and that should just give me a little bit of definition. Yeah, I like that. By looking at my video scope here and bringing the exterior light level down to within that acceptable 100% range, I can now increase the intensity. That's at full pelt, so I need to bring more light in. So let me see if I can bring this light in closer. So it might be that I'll have to change the shot or the frame. Yeah. I'm not getting quite enough level from the softbox onto Sam's face to balance with the exterior. So what are my options here? I like the wide shot, but I don't have enough light output to actually make it work. So one of the first things you can do if it's not working is just to change the lens. We've gone from a 21 to a 35 there. That's certainly better. Now what I'm seeing on the side of it, I'm actually seeing, I think it's a thermostat for the heating. So what I can do is just move the shot like so. That's okay. And I can bring this light in closer still. So because we're trying to balance daylight with tungsten, I just do need to get that light as physically close as possible. Now yes, I could take off the grid, but I'm going to lose that nice control, and I don't really want to sacrifice any control just to gain an extra stop of exposure. So I just need to adjust everything. It's just not working. This is the problem. I'm trying to do something and I don't have the right tools. So if this was the case, I don't think I can get the right sort of sculpting and modeling I want in this confined space. So I want to do something different. I'm going to bring in a bigger, more powerful light. And this is why you need some variety in your lighting kit. I much prefer that overall scene because I think it works better with the shape of the stairwell. So let me just put this on here. Yeah, that's given me a lot more light output. And that is much, much better. In fact, we're getting a good exposure. Now the problem is I'm actually casting quite a nasty shadow with that side light, so I need to dip over here. And this is a real kind of process of, if things aren't working, you've got to try and figure out why they're not working. Because not every lighting setup will work straight away. Yeah, the problem we're going to have is we're using a hard light source there on the side of the balustrade. That's not so bad. Expose that for the outdoors. Ah, that's maybe better. Here, that's working better. The problem was I was trying to get the back of the door frame and the window in shot, and it was just too bright. And this way, I think I can get my light in to exactly the position I need it to be, which is tight in here. Right, that's starting to get somewhere. What I've got now is the picture frames are giving me some interesting detail. I've got a little, looks like a sticky note on the door, so I need to remember to take that off. I'm liking the shape here. You've got this gradation of grey on the wall. We've got this backlight coming in. I don't mind that shadow too much, although I could probably move it further round. Now that I've changed the frame, I'm going to move this backlight to be more of a backlight. And I can put that in about here. So this will now actually backlight Sam's hair and take advantage of her lovely blonde hair and make it more golden. I should add at this point, Sam is my wife, so it's probably okay for me to be being quite familiar with the model. I don't speak to all my models like this. Right, that's starting to really work for me. See what I've done there? I've just moved the backlight round. I'm going to dim it down so it's not just too hot on her hair. But we're now separating her from the blue of the background, and that is starting to work for me. So we've now got a good exposure reading of about 55–60% on her face. We've got some nice highlights on the balustrade. We've got a nice colour of blue in the background. Her hair's not burning out, but it's nice and golden. I think we can probably afford to turn that down just a fraction. Again, with the dados, you've got that element of control. And what I'm liking here is this vignette, this kind of natural vignette of the light. It's not distracting, yet we can see Sam's face very, very clearly. And the celeb is giving us a lovely, nice, soft source. I think what I might do here is actually add a little bit of reflector. Because again, working with female subjects, you want to make sure there aren't any real shadows. So what I'm just going to do here is fill in any shadow areas with a bit of white reflector. So that 5-in-1 reflector again just pops out. And what you'll find this will do is should just bounce that little bit of light back into the side of Sam's face. So we've not lost any of the modelling, we're just filling in some of the shadows. And the only thing I would do in this frame would be, if we're shooting this for real, is take this little yellow sticky off the door that's outside. But for the purpose of the setup, and from the point of view of the lighting, I'm pretty happy with that. And that would give Sam, I think, a fairly comfortable position to stand in for quite some time and not feel too intimidated. And yes, there is this shadow. I mean, if I brought the light further round, I could probably do that. Let's see what that would do. But I quite like it coming around the side of her hair. So if I move it too much further round, I may well lose that effect. So I lose the shadow, I lose the effect. And so at this point, I have to make a decision. Actually, that works. I haven't lost the effect at all. So I've lost the shadow, I've still got the highlight on her hair, and that, I think, works quite well. So let's just summarize what we've done here. We had a number of issues, and I think what's useful about this exercise is this is the kind of stuff that I go through on location as well. So, don't be freaked out if you find you get to a shot and it just doesn't work. I started on the wide lens because that's the frame I wanted. Brought in my softbox, but couldn't get it physically close enough without getting into the frame. And so therefore, at that point, I had to abandon that idea. Now, I tried switching to a tighter lens, but I lost the impact of the frame. I love how the angular lines in this frame kind of create this natural progression for the eyes to journey into Sam's face. I love the way the blue of the background is vignetting and creating that sense of color contrast. So in that situation, I had to bring in my celeb. Much higher output, get the light closer. I mean, I'm only sitting at 62% here, so it's not even full blast, to get a good exposure, a nice soft, even light. The backlight, I just kept moving around to the very edge of frame so I can get that shadow off the side of the stairwell, and then just added in that final piece with the reflector just to fill any shadows in, to soften out this side of her face. Really happy with how that looks. I think it's a lovely looking frame, and again, only using 2 lights, and a real kind of thumbs up for the celeb light here. Now, if you didn't have a celeb, then maybe you could use a Kinoflow Diva light. You might even try a 1x1 panel. The trouble is, with a 1x1 panel, you'd get this point source of light. You wouldn't get this lovely gradation of light down onto her blouse. So for me in this scenario, this is an absolutely winning formula. Celeb light, dado lights, and I think a reflector, and that's a really nice looking frame.